Good morning. I'm Nancy Roman, Director of Communications and Private Partnerships at the World Food Program. And this morning I'm going to be talking to Peter Bakker, the CEO of one of the world's biggest logistics companies, TNT, about his role as an ambassador fighting hunger with the World Food Program and his role as a corporate leader taking on huge global social problems. Good morning, Peter.
Hi, good morning, Nancy. How are you?
Very fine, thanks. Listen, I just want to hear from you. You've just been named an ambassador against hunger for the World Food Program. What's the experience like, and what do you really want from this?
Well, it's a unique opportunity to be on the inside of the World Food Program and the UN system. As you know, we've been partnering as TNT with the World Food Program for now almost 10 years. But being a partner, you're always on the outside. Now I get to have a view on the inside and get myself involved with some of the topics that are on the agenda. And that's a real cool opportunity.
Yeah. And why are large companies like TNT interested in tackling hunger?
Well, I think the realization has really come in the corporate sector that large global companies are beneficiaries of globalization. And if you're the beneficiary of globalization, then also you cannot close your eyes for some of the bad things that are going on in the world. And that's what we these days call corporate social responsibility. It talks about how you treat your own employees, but it also talks about what do you do to solve some of the world's problems. And partnering up with the World Food Program has proven to be a very powerful way of getting social responsibility off the ground.
What are some of the specific ways that you feel employees have been able to engage in the fight against hunger?
Well, I think the starting point of the whole journey has been that the partnership between companies and the World Food Program is skill-based. But companies can bring unique set of skills to the World Food Program. So one of the things that our employees have been able to do is to put their skills to work to help WFP solve some of their challenges. So we've had examples of logistics engineers looking into the supply chain in South Sudan, into the supply chain for bread in Egypt, and all kind of technical, logistical elements that our people brought their skills, which they normally use for commercial purposes, but this time to help WFP. I think secondly, our employees have been involved in a lot of fundraising and all kind of creative ideas, from Walk the World to soccer tournaments to local markets, whatever people did, got them involved. And then thirdly, but that's specific to the Netherlands only, we've had this educational program where some of our employees have been involved at primary schools to teach the very young children in the Netherlands about hunger and what the world should do about it.
Sometimes I wonder, the strength of the private sector is that it's smart, efficient, and impatient, and so it drives organizations like the United Nations to move more quickly than we might otherwise. And I sense this real energy from companies right now around solving hunger. Sometimes I worry that if we don't get traction really quickly, that energy will turn elsewhere. Do you think that's a concern?
Yeah, that's I think a valid concern, and so that puts a lot of pressure on organizations like yours, the World Food Program, and in specifically to the departments like your own departments, where you have this direct interaction with them. Because I think the value that private sector can bring is their action orientation. They want something done tomorrow once they've got the idea. The downside of it, they're relatively impatient.
Right.
So they find it hard to work with bureaucracies.
Right.
WFP is a relatively small corporate center with a big operation in all parts of the world in the field. The whole culture of WFP is nothing gets between us and a hungry child. And that is almost the same as what private sector has. So the cultures between WFP and private sector aren't that different, and that's why I'm not at all surprised to see that World Food Program is taking this lead inside the UN in developing partnerships.
Yeah. What would you say to a CEO of a company who is thinking of engaging in this battle against hunger and with the World Food Program. You've sort of touched on the upsides. What would you say about the downside? If you were just saying, hey, if you're going to get in this, you need to understand what?
Well, if you're going to get involved in the fight against hunger, you need to realize that you're in it for the long haul. Like I just said, I mean, if you're considering sponsoring any event, you can do it. You can do it for 2 years, and then you say, okay, we're going to move on to something else. If once you get engaged in the fight against hunger, you can't really leave it until the fight is won. And like we just argued, that is, we're making progress, but it will take us some time.
Right.
The first partnerships that WFP has struck with companies like TNT, like Unilever, like DSM, were pretty much companies came to WFP saying, can we help? I see for the next period, WFP will say, okay, what are our needs? And which companies could help us fill those needs. So the invite will almost reverse.
Right.
And therefore, and I think the ground also on the side of CEOs is fertile for that, if World Food Program comes up with a well-argumented question saying, okay, dear company, you've got these skills, we've got these needs, this would be the form of a partnership. These are other CEOs you could talk to who have done this before. I think the sales pitch to them will be relatively easy. It's great for the companies involved in their employee engagement, their reputation. If the skills really match, it's fabulous for the World Food Program to have access to those private sector skills. And for the beneficiaries, the hungry people of the world, it should make a real difference. That's an easy story to sell.
Thanks a lot, Peter. We
Thanks,
really
Nancy.
appreciate everything.